Peace, 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 peace. What's going on out there, those in the virtual world? We got the Culture Podcast. I want to let you know, get your apples ready, get the outfits right. You got to make sure they laid out, make sure you iron your book bags. Y'all remember having the real heavy book bags with all the textbooks back in the day? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Back to school, we got the queen, Lindsey Anderson, in the building. She's going to be talking to us today. So we got myself, Furious, Luna, Flex. We love you. Let's do this.
I'm writing this, try not to cry. You stabilize my environment, inspired when you have my eye. My youth was consumed by vain beauty. Little did I know that vanity could masquerade the unruly. Coolly high love times, we reminisce, paint a vivid picture. Rush to come and lift her. Brethren, I don't want to see another sister get left up, creep by another mister. Patience, no longer taking advantage of your innocence. Genetically superior, I had the vision this. Head ruled up my eye, I'm on my pilgrimage. History richer than the epic of Gilgamesh. We projected our broken worlds, made you a victim. Change the narrative, let us sit at your feet for wisdom. Pride, disrespect, I played my part, now I apologize, cause deep down it hurt my heart. To the queens lost in the struggle, part of the chain gang, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland.
Yes. So exciting, y'all. So welcome back. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and make sure you follow us on our YouTube channel, The Floor is Yours Podcast, as well as our Facebook channel, The Floor is Yours Podcast, LLC. And let's not forget the dope partnership that we have with Mogul TV Global Network as well. Shout out to that network because we are doing great things together. Make sure you like their Facebook page as well and download the Mogul TV Global app because you're going to see more of the Floor is Yours podcast starting to trickle into that network. Y'all, listen, we are on over 15,000 national and international TV stations, y'all. And y'all want to see our faces, I promise you. But tonight, it's not about us. It is about the world-renowned, beautiful, amazing Lindsey A. of VA. Woo! Lindsey, tell us a little bit about yourself, love. And remember to brag about you, girl.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Lindsey Anderson, also known as Lindsey A of VA. I am all things. Honestly, I am an entrepreneur, a business owner. I am a mom. I am a counselor. I'm a community activist. I am the founder of Vision Driven 757 and Vision Driven 75. It's a Vision Driven LLC. I'm the owner of Driven Health and Wellness. I am a children's author. I started so many initiatives in the Hampton Roads area. One of my biggest ones being Lunch on Us, started during the pandemic, where we made and delivered over 8,500 lunches to kids in the Hampton Roads area in 4 different cities. Published so many places. You can definitely Google me, but I think my favorite one was being in Health Magazine during that as a pandemic hero. I've been on a number of radio stations and news stations for the work that I do in the community, and I'm so passionate about people. I'm passionate about our world, our culture, and most importantly, our children. Those are my heart, and I really wake up every day with the intent to set an example and to be the change and to create change wherever I go and with whatever I do. So that's me. That's all of me.
That's dope, man. She sounds a lot like us. Like, man, I tell Luna all the time how I'm just amazed at the amount of community work that I see going on up there in the Hampton Roads area. So hats off to you for that.
Yeah, it's important. It's so important.
Yeah.
See, if I was a DJ, I'll put that annoying noise and be like, dun, 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 but I can't do that. So just imagine I'm a DJ. Hear that, right? But no. I'm gonna give you guys a disclaimer. Luna is just getting off the road, so the kiddos is missing me. So if you see either myself or Furious go back and forth, this is a family show. So that's my disclaimer for the night. But that even jumps us into why we even have Lindsey up here. So there's this dope organization that she talked about that she is the CEO over, which is Vision Driven 757. And what I want to do is give you an opportunity to tell the people, how did that actually get started? And what are you guys up to now?
Yeah, so Vision Driven 757 got started off of a failed attempt to do something else. I wanted to honestly start like an entrepreneur's incubator back in 2018. And for me, like I love doing events. So my announcement, my Hello to the World was going to be an event that I put together, put all of my own money into for these entrepreneurs. There was going to be panels and vendors and all this good stuff. And I put it together and nothing came up. Like 2 tickets, I had like 1 vendor, like nothing. So I was like, ugh. And I went to my mom and I was like crying. I'm like, the people, it's not resonating with the people. Like, why don't they understand? And she was like, because you're not focused on where your focus needs to be. You're for these children. You're for these kids. We have to rectify the village. We have to build some bosses. And I was like, what? And she was like, we got to build some bosses. And so I completely scrapped my other event and I created Building Bosses. And I changed Vision Driven from an entrepreneur incubator to an organization to foster our kids and to help them to figure out where they want to go and how they need to get there. You know, things that the schools don't necessarily teach us, things that sometimes our parents don't know to teach us, just how to make that transition from youth to young adult and beyond, because there's just so many things that we don't learn that we need to learn, you know, just about good decision making, about role models, about where you're coming from, not being where you're going, just a number of things. And I really wanted it to resonate with these kids, how important they are and how their possibilities are endless. And so from starting Building Bosses in 2018, honestly, I just knew that was where I was supposed to be. I knew that that's where I fit. And we've done a number of health and wellness events. We've done police events about how to communicate with the police. We've done suicide awareness and mental health events, self-esteem events. Don't drop your crown and don't drop your crown king. Your life matters. This will be our 5th back to school event that we've done when the pandemic hit, doing all the work in the community with the pandemic and really bringing together community. I think I know I kind of mentioned it before, but for me, that was like the most rewarding time. Like everyone else was panicking and sick and shut in, and I was in these streets. You know, I was like, no, we got to do something. We can't just sit on this. We can't just let these kids sit at home and lack. And like their parents are still working, so they need to know that someone still cares. And we sent them jump ropes and chalks and activity books and science kids along with the lunches. So we were making sure that they were being fed, but also still exercising their mind, also still exercising their bodies. We sent fresh produce and stuff. And the best thing about it was that everyone was willing to help. People came far and wide. People would call me and like, you don't know me, but I heard about what you're doing. I have boxes of food. If you could come get it, if you can get it, it's yours. Or where can I meet you? Naval bases were sending out drivers, sending out their soldiers to be drivers and deliverers for us so that we could get the food out to the kids. And every day we had like 195 meals that we were preparing and sending out. It was big work and it was important work. And even now people still talk about it, like even comparing it to like the Black Panther Breakfast Initiative, you know, like making sure these kids are fed because it's important, you know. Yeah. From then it's just like now I'm in a space where, okay, we've done Band-Aid work, right? We've done patchwork. How do we attack the roots? How do we get to the problems? Because we're going to keep having these problems if we don't address the root cause. The backpacks are cool. The lunches were cool. All that was cool, but those are all temporary fixes. And now I'm more in a mindset in a space of permanent fixes. How do we help them get out of this space into a different space? How do we change their mindset? How do we help the whole family? Because just helping these kids is one part of it. But if they go home to a toxic environment, our work falls on deaf ears. But if we can help the parents talk to the kids, if we can help the whole family be a real unit, that's when we start addressing the root problems. And that's when these kids have solid foundations to grow from. Our ceiling is their floor. And if we don't give them anything to stand on, then what do they do?
That's good. That is good. I have about 12 questions that develop out of there, but I'm gonna hold mine because I know Luna and Fierce got some stuff to get started with. But kudos to you on that. So I've heard about the Don't Drop Your Crown. So I didn't know that was you. That's your initiative. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Dope. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a question. So with what you do, Lindsey, would you be able to describe for those who don't know or might not be aware, what type of anxieties do families face when it comes to back to school time?
There's so many stressors that go into back to school. You know, for the parents, it's the school supplies, it's the clothing, it's the shoes, it's the physicals, it's the paperwork, it's all the things. You know, it's just the mental prep of like the earlier nights and the fighting the kids in the morning and making sure to get them to the bus stop or get them to the drop off line on time and then still get to work on time. For the students, it's like, you know, kids can be mean, and if you don't look a certain way, if you don't present a certain way, then that you could be subject to being bullied or being ridiculed or being picked on or being harmed. You know, not having the tools that you need can play a big part in like your ability to focus, or having a toxic home life can play an impact in your ability to focus. Having to be the parent to your younger siblings and you're 11 yourself can be a big impact. You know, so there's a number of stressors. Transportation, parents picking like, am I going to pay this bill or am I going to let my baby go on a field trip? Like, there's a number of things, and some of the schools have resources, but all of them don't. And so then even going to the school, it's like, my kid needs this, but I have no way to get them. My kid needs glasses, but we don't have insurance, you know, or I need to get my baby a physical, but I can't get to the health department because I have to go to work. So it's a lot of different avenues and a lot of different things that the parents and the kids have to prepare for mentally, physically, emotionally when going back to school. And we are still in a global pandemic. You know, people like to act like it's over with, but it's not. It's still here. It's still active. It's still alive. And so, you know, parents have to face those decisions about vaccines, about masks, about what immunity support, however they go about it. And kids as well, they have to be more aware than they've ever had to be before about what to touch and what not to touch and where to go and where to be. Some of these schools aren't up to code, so they can't use certain bathrooms or they can't use certain water fountains. So it's so many things. It's so many things that these kids face and that their parents face that people don't necessarily look into. And then if you're a teacher and a parent, you know, that's a whole different ball game coming from a school background. I was a teacher and a parent. Furious, I know you know that struggle, you know, like you have a kid. I worked in the same school as my child. So it's like I would see her in passing. I'm like, I know I have my students, but my baby, you know, like it's always the struggle in that too. And it's like making sure that you spread yourself evenly so that you're not spreading yourself thin.
It sounds like you're talking about a lot of the challenges with the inner city and particularly maybe Black and brown communities. My question is, do you have to deal with the shame or guilt or maybe the egos that parents may have where they're hesitant to reach out and ask for support?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And especially when you talk to parents about their kids. You know, you can't tell a parent about their child, but sometimes you have to tell a parent about their child. Like, who you see at home is not who they really are, unless whoever they're presenting here is not who they really are, you know. But most of the time, they express themselves best wherever they're most comfortable. Yeah. And sometimes it's having that conversation like, I know you're struggling. You don't have to tell me, or just not even addressing the fact that it is a struggle, but just offering the hand. And then it's like, sometimes people will be prideful, and, you know, and you have to just take that with a grain of salt. Like, well, the resources are here, and if I can help you, please don't hesitate to reach out. Please let me know. But other times, a lot of them are just really relieved. Like, someone sees my struggle, even though I didn't say anything to them. Someone's willing to help me, even though I didn't ask for help. Like, a lot of people are like that. They want the help, but they don't know how to ask. They're not used to asking, or they've dealt with rejection or neglect from asking. So it's like, it's almost like a trauma response for them not to ask as opposed for them to ask. And especially in the Black and brown community, you know, we're used to carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, doing everything for ourselves, picking ourselves up by our bootstraps and get it done. But in reality, you need people. You need community. Like, we weren't created to do this thing by ourselves. We were created to do this thing together. And that's including taking care of our kids.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
I was going to say, you know, one thing I always want to bring forth light, because a lot of the times when people are having these conversations like this, is we can focus on Black and brown communities. We can focus on those of low socioeconomic status, but there's a lot of group of kids that's being missed, like your middle class families. And I'm a product of middle class family, and I live in a middle class or low high class neighborhoods, and our kids have zero resources because the mindset is they don't need the help. When our parents are gone almost 24/7 working, or even like with us, we're faced now with our son is going to go to public schools, but they don't have a before and after school to take him because he's 3 and not 4. So now we got to figure out, well, dang, he got to be to work as a middle school teacher by 6 in the morning. And I got to make sure they're at school and all these things. So I think for us, it's really big, especially on this platform, to make people understand that any child and any family going back to school needs help and assistance. Yeah. It's not a socioeconomic status. It's not a race. It's not a culture. It is literally when you're going to any school, whether it's public, private, college, or whatever, we need to do a better job making sure everybody has the resources that they need. Because just because you're middle class don't mean that both your parents are present. And just because you are of lower class don't mean you don't have the resources, So it's being able to provide those things. So what I will say with that is, Lindsey, what is the Be Well initiative and why is it important now in 2022, preparing for the new school year, to be here now?
Yeah, no, and just real quick to piggyback off what you said, that is like the difference between a Title I and a Title III school, right? One gets more money because they've been deemed as high risk or low income or whatever. The other one doesn't get as many resources, and those kids are just as lacking as the other kids. Like one doesn't outweigh the other, but because on paper it looks one way, we have a whole group of kids that go without certain things, and then the other kids go without other things. Like it's across the board, it should be even killed. It shouldn't matter what district you live in, what neighborhood you live in. Education should be education. And the fact that it's already altered and skewed because of where you live is a problem within itself. And I could go on a whole tangent, but I'm not. But to go back to your question about Be Well. So Be Well was a concept, honestly, that we came up with together. Malira, you are a big part of, spearheading this idea and putting it into play. But I really just wanted to do something different. Last year, I'm going to be completely transparent. I was a little frustrated last year. Everyone was still on the big kick of like helping the community and, the pandemic and all this stuff. So there was 1,003 back to school events every other weekend in the month of August. But there were still so many kids overlooked on the first day of school. So many kids that showed up without backpacks. So many kids who struggled. Grades were the worst that they have ever been last year. Coming off the transition from virtual learning to back to in-person 5 days a week, coming off the transition of, being at home in a global pandemic, being masked up, the new mandates, the new rules and regulations in play, students struggled. And it wasn't necessarily academically, it's with everything else. Public schools did not take the time to say, hey, we know that we're in a global pandemic. We know you've been subject to everything that us as adults have been subject to. They've seen the news. They see the media. They're on social media just like we're on social media. They saw George Floyd. They saw all the incidents that happened. They saw the insurrection. They saw all these things. And they have so many questions that no one is taking the time to answer. So that causes confusion. That causes frustration. That causes feelings of negligence. Like, well, no one is going to care enough to answer my questions, but I have to be focused on taking standardized tests. I have to be
what's crazy about that is, and this not to beat up on the public schools, but it seems like from what you all was saying, not only could they do more, but seems like maybe the structure, that they are part of the problem. I'm thinking in my mind, it's outside looking in. When I hear educators, especially in the upper echelon, the leadership team, it would surprise me to think that they haven't tried to think of all the challenges that especially the kids are dealing with and try to address them.
It's a tit for tat type thing, right?
I can answer that. So yeah, I was gonna say, here's the problem, right? In the field of education, from the experiences that I've had as a mental health professional trying to get into the education field, they're trying to solve a problem with an education mindset. Mm-hmm. So they'll create a new position like a behavior interventionist or a mental health support, but then a part of the qualifications is 3 years of teaching experience. I don't know a teacher that went to school to be a counselor or therapist. So I'm not understanding how you have this position that you have money slated for, yet the qualification says you need to be a teacher, which we already know is not equipped for that. So I think a lot of it is, one, going outside of the standardized testing pieces, but we still haven't really talked about that either. And then two, this is the reality. Kids learn the same thing from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. There has to be a point where they say, okay, you've learned enough of the basics. Now let's talk about life stuff. Now let's give you an outpatient therapist in the school that you can go to, because guidance counselors are not therapists. Your school social workers are not therapists. I'm a social worker. If I was a school social worker, that's a case manager. That's a totally different field of that. And even with psychologists, their main thing is testing, and only specific kids get access to that, not all kids. So if we had it where there actually is a mental health initiative, a mental health person sitting on the school board, I feel like it would be totally different. And I'm not saying it has to be a social worker. It may not even have to be a therapist, but just someone who actually has a mindset of the kids in their environment. Right now, it's too much education. In order for schools to get money, you have to have a certain test score. So it's like, of course, my only mindset is going to be, who can I bring in that's going to tell these kids how to pass this test? Instead of it being, who can I bring in that's really going to make sure that we see the challenges that these kids are going to. COVID took away before and after school activities and clubs and things where the kids could have something totally different, like mentoring and stuff like that. So now we're trying to figure out what's the new normal, and actually putting people who can let educators be the educators, but then take care of the other stuff. So while they're in the classroom, the teacher can think about teaching. Teachers can't think about teaching if they're the parent, the therapist, the doctor, the nurse, and everybody else. So I think there's a disconnect in trying to help and really putting the right people in place.
And even higher than that, because it's not even just at city levels. These are state levels. These are state mandated things that trickle down to the cities, where cities almost feel powerless. Principals feel so restrained these days that they can't do what they need to do for their kids to get what they need. For the school that I was in, there was 2 guidance counselors for a school of 600 students. That's 300 students for 1 guidance counselor. Impossible to make sure that every student gets what they need. Impossible to make sure that every student is seen and talked to and heard from and felt and understood. It's not even a thing. You know, the resources lack. They are there, but they are lack. And that's a bigger problem in itself too. You know, we do need more mental health specialists, but even at a city level, if we had mental health specialists on the council or on the school board, it would only do but so much. You know, the powers that be overall, this started back with No Child Left Behind. I was in grade school when that came about, you know, and since then you have seen the result of that initiative. You've seen like where we are now, right? So for me, like I said, last year, everybody did back to school drives. Everybody had school supplies. Cool. What did it solve? Nothing. And so this year I was like, I'm not just giving out school supplies. We are not just giving out school supplies, because that is a Band-Aid. And like I said before, I'm past Band-Aid work. I want to do root work. The root is that these children are struggling mentally. The root is these children are struggling with their identity, with where they belong, with their sense of purpose, with where they can go, with what they can do. Any of my events I put on in what I feel is like the best possible area. You know, when we do building bosses, it's at a very nice location. So these kids can come into a space and be like, wow, I belong in rooms like this.
I like that.
You know, I'm here because I'm supposed to be here. You know, we encourage them to dress up. We encourage them to look nice. We encourage them to take pride in who they are and what they stand for. And like, please represent yourself. Please let your personality shine, but understand that you belong in these spaces. And so with Be Well, it's like, yeah, we're going to give you some school supplies, but more importantly, we're going to talk to your parents about how they can communicate better with you. We're going to talk to you about how you can help your parents help understand you, because I remember being a child, I'm like, you just don't understand. But it's also that we don't know how to communicate our thoughts and feelings well, because no one's ever taken the time to tell us, right?
You got me thinking about this theory. I should say that there is the principle in the Bible that those who have the least give the most. And I'm thinking that the people that are giving what they know how to give, and it's
Yeah.
supplied. So, I mean, is there opportunity to do more from a therapist standpoint? And I'm sure there's limitations and restraints on what y'all can do if you're not employed by the school. But can therapists, or should they be able to do more?
Honestly, I'm sorry. I know that was for Luna, but honestly, it's not as many restraints when you outside of the school. Part of the reason why I left the school was so I wasn't so restricted. You can't tell me what I'm going to tell these kids at my events. You can't stop me from being in their homes and talking to their parents when I do it from Vision Driven 757. As long as I have that permission. And I think that the big thing right now for our cities especially is to put more emphasis on these grassroots organizations who have access to the front door of the problem. I can go to homes and tell people like, hey, we've talked on the phone a couple of times. I want to come sit down and talk to you. I have a therapist on standby who would love to have a conversation in your home if you're open to it, so we can address these issues or whatever the case may be. I feel that there's more possibilities when we have more support and we have more resources as grassroots organizations, so the schools can just worry about the education part of it. And we just come in and work with the schools. I would love to infiltrate the schools with what we do, because I think it would make all the difference to have that.
That's good.
Yeah, I was going to say the greatest challenge as a therapist is funding. And I say that because if a kid has Medicaid, it makes it easier because then I can just come in, work with that kid. And a lot of the times with Medicaid, there's flexibility. But also as a therapist, what people don't understand is, for example, I'm just going into full-time entrepreneurship. In order for me to be a therapist outside of someone else's company, I have to get my own thing credentialed and paneled with insurance companies for me to even be able to bill anybody's insurance or things like that, right? But with me having to do that, now I need a brick and mortar and a location to do it. On top of paying $1,500 to get paneled, on top of waiting 6 months to a year before I can even touch the students inside of the school. So for us, it's a little more challenging to provide the therapy aspect of things. And then by the time we do talk about it, the budget has already been established. So the schools that I have tried to get in, and my husband can tell you, I've tried many school systems, is the expectation is providing that service for free. And for someone who's a full-time entrepreneur, how can I take care of my own family if I'm doing this service for free? So for us, it's a little bit more challenging. And then also some insurances won't want you to be in the school providing that service. So we're trying to build that partnership with schools to say, hey, like I do have this agency I can provide therapy through. You just got to provide this kid with a safe environment where can't nobody go into and it's secure. We can do it virtually, but it's finding a school that has a time to sit down with a therapist to explain that this is what we need to make this happen. And I've been wanting to do it for a minute. So if there's a school that's willing to try it out, listen, I'm willing to try it, but it comes with different limitations and going into the school at the right time, at the right place, because I can't do all my services for free as much as I want to. This is my bread and butter too. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges for mental health professionals. And then I work for community-based programs as well. So we have what's called therapeutic day treatment. But when COVID hit, a lot of those was pulled out of the schools system. So now that they're trying to get that back in there, it goes back to if all I have is 2 people in the school system, they can only see kids that have Medicaid, no other insurances. So you're still missing a big population of the school and only this one small population is getting help. So is that really helping the school or not helping the school? So funding is a big barrier. 2, with our license, we have to get paneled with insurance companies, which can take a long period of time. And 3, if we are to work with another agency and not credential our own agency, we got to follow the guidelines of that agency, plus getting the school on board with providing an office or a space for that kid to be in. But what I will say, though, is as we are talking about this, I want us to get prepared for a commercial break to do a brief thing. I see Mia up here. I saw Daniel up here, Aquaman, as the husband called him. We just want to make sure that we shout out our audience. We want to say thank y'all for always joining in with us every other Wednesday. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to go ahead and do a commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment. M Green Enterprises LLC, the home of Malabra Green, your confidence coach. Malabra Green is a licensed clinical social worker who serves as a psychotherapist, Reiki master, and transformative speaker. She is striving to provide the world with preventative services to lower the number of individuals in mental health facilities while helping people grow from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Malabra is ready to help the humans of the world find their best selves. Please be sure to check out www.malabratransforms.com because Malabra is ready to transform with you.
Peace, welcome back to the Culture Podcast. Those that are tuning in, we just want to encourage you to like, share, subscribe, shout out, do photo bombs, screenshot it, and then put it in all the emails, all of it. Make sure the names is there so we can get these likes and subscribes up. Trust me, the content is needed, it's necessary, it's going to bless you. Replay value on 100. So, Luna, Lindsey, this Be Well event for our community. What type of vendors, what type of experience is this going to provide for the community that shows up?
Honestly, the title
either one of you. Yeah.
It's to be well. It's more than just, like what I said before, it's more than just school supplies. We are bringing out the mental health therapists. We're bringing out the counselors. We're bringing back the after school programs and the resources that were not in the schools last year. We're linking up with tutors and mentors and people that can really put these kids in a position where they know no bounds. It's just important that, you get your education. Please go to school. Please pay attention. Please understand why you're there and what you're learning. But understand, too, that after you get that foundation, you can go anywhere. You can do anything, and it doesn't matter what you look like. It does not matter where you come from. It doesn't even matter who your parents are, because you're your own person. And sometimes it just takes linking these kids with someone who came from where they came from and did something completely different. I didn't know I could be a business owner. I didn't know I could be a children's author. I didn't know I could do these things. I didn't know I could have a garden. I didn't know I could do whatever it is that, we link these people to. And that's the biggest thing for me, is these kids understanding their possibilities, understanding that they can do so much more than the things that they see around them, because sometimes it's not that much to see. And so putting them in a position where they see all kinds of different resources and all kinds of different things, like we're talking about health and wellness. Mental health is a big thing right now, just because of the rate of suicide, the rate of gun violence, the rate of police interactions, like all the things that are heavily impacting our community right now need to be addressed. And the root of a lot of them is mental health. In addition to that, a lot of these people don't understand that wellness is a necessity. It's not a luxury. Going to the doctor and getting these checkups, taking care of your dental hygiene, and talking about medical expenses and things of that nature. People think of it as a luxury because it's, expensive sometimes, if they don't know that there are free resources or more affordable resources out there. So we need them to know, like, look, you might not have the money, but they do this for free. Or if you get $15, they'll hook you up. Or if you're willing to sign up for Medicaid, we're trying to get even community colleges there, so that the kids know, like, okay, college might not be for you, but maybe you want to go and get a 2-year associate's degree. So let's go to the TCC table and talk to them about how you can get signed up for them. And they have an abundance of resources. I serve on the advisory board for Tidewater Community College. So I got to shout them out. But they have a number of resources: childcare, laptops, electronics, housing support. They do so many different things that people are not aware of. And it's even more than just the college. You can get CDLs. You can learn how to drive buses. You can get a trade. Like, all these things are so important for these kids to know that college might not be for you. Okay, but you can be a carpenter and you can eat well for the rest of your life, because someone will always break something in their house and need somebody to fix it. Someone always needs a painter. Someone always needs a plumber. These are valuable trades that we have kind of lost sight of in the tech age. And I get it, but at the end of the day, those people never lack. Those people always have a job. And even if they're working for themselves or working for somebody else, they're always okay. My dad is a carpenter. My dad's been a carpenter his whole life, and I have never seen him not work, whether it was for somebody else or for himself. And those are important skills that our kids kind of lose sight of. So connecting them with mentors who do those things, connecting them with business owners, who do those things, who teach basketball or teach karate or give them things to do other than just going home and playing the game. That's cool. Being on your phone, that's fun. Us as adults, we do it, but there's just so much more out there. And so we really want these kids to know their possibilities. We really want them to be sound and be able to express, hey, I feel sad today because, and I feel like if we work together, mom and dad, this would be our solution, so that the kids can have better conversations with their parents, so their parents don't let their kids, what they're saying, fall on deaf ears. We want it to be well-rounded. We want our families to be better. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I want to say something, and this not to turn this into a political discussion. I was thinking about some of the challenges, and you said earlier, Lindsey, that a lot of the pressure or the limitation is from the top. And I was just thinking about when in Florida, DeSantis, when how he threatened to take funding from the school if they forced the kids to wear masks. And I'm just thinking the kind of pressure that would be for, say, an educator who may have issues with their immune system, but you're faced with working or potentially not working or whatever because of what our politicians are doing. Am I understanding that correctly?
I mean, teachers.
I want to speak on that because, go ahead.
Real quick. And
I was going to say, for me, go ahead, baby.
Our teachers, they face a lot of struggles. And I don't think that a lot of people are aware of the struggles that teachers face, because it's not just teaching these kids. It's teaching these kids on a specific schedule. They expected to learn one subject or one topic in 3 days or 2 days. It's also dealing with the parents. It's also dealing with the administration. It's also dealing with the city. It's also dealing with the state. It's also the different rules and regulations that change. It's doing more than your job is required on paper. Because teaching is not just 8:20 to 4:30. Teachers have to prepare overnight. They do lesson plans. They take time. Is this going to keep my kids' attention? And when you question them and when you challenge their livelihood, I have yet to meet a teacher who teaches for the money. They teach from their heart. They teach because they care. And when you put things in place like that, when you give them those ultimatums like that, you're honestly doing a disservice to these kids, because you're taking away the good teachers. You're taking away the teachers who truly care. And it's only going to impact the kids, which is ultimately going to impact our communities and how we lead this world.
Wow. That's a lot to consider.
Yeah, so on that topic, I wanted to say it is, and it really took me up until recent to really get this, but it's corporate. It's the corporate aspect, the corporate side of it. And for a long time, I thought corporate almost like it's a place, right? But it's like a mindset. And that's one thing I've learned. Even as teaching, going through my first year, you have like the boots on the ground side of teaching. And then you have the side of teaching that never sees a student. And the side that never sees a student has so much of an impact on the boots on the ground style of teaching. So much so, you could see that one person, one time, that whole year, and that one decision or one sentence they say can affect the whole rest of the school year. You'll never see them again. So again, you're dealing with numbers. You're dealing with, it has to fit within this. If your numbers are at a certain point, it doesn't matter how well you're teaching. It doesn't matter what type of life skills you're teaching. If your numbers aren't reaching where they should be, in their eyes, the life skills are useless, if that makes sense. So it's rough when you're dealing with it because, as you mentioned earlier, you're dealing with the state side. State side dealing with legislation. So how long we go to school, what's taught in the school. The people that are actually running the schools physically aren't even the people that get to decide what's taught.
And that's what I was going to say, like, we need to do better when it comes to voting. Like, we do a big to-do when it comes to presidential voting, but when it comes to local and state, we turn a blind eye. And I'm not judging nobody. Y'all know we transparent. Me and Furious ain't vote until I think the end of last year was like our first time voting since we got married. Before that, it was the second time Obama ran was my first and my last time I voted, because I did not think that my voice matters. But as we got older and we began to realize it is those moments that's going to change the trajectory of our children's lives, we have to do better. But I also want to actually challenge the world makeup when it comes to political running as well. It's all a fairy tale. So at the end of the day, I don't know who the heck to vote for, because all I know, you hate them because they did this and all these other things. So if we can do better of stopping the mockery when it comes to political running and politicians, and actually put people in place that's going to make sure that our kids are doing something. Business people, I'm an entrepreneur, but F y'all need to stop being in politics. Why? Because you don't know what it feels like to actually be hungry. Like, we need educators, we need mental health people, we need the doctors, we need the people that's actually been living in the streets to be up there and making these laws. And then also normal people, go to the assembly meetings, go to your council, your city council meetings, like go to your neighborhood meetings, your HOA stuff, start there. But we have to start somewhere. And if we don't, our kids are going to suffer, because again, like he said, it's not the teachers that's making these decisions. Heck, it's not even the principals at this point or superintendents. It's the mayors, the legislative people, it's the people that's going up and up and up. But what are we doing to challenge them? Are you writing letters? Are you posting meaningful things on social media and not just sharing videos of little boys trying to push and beat up police, which is another conversation for another day? Like, what are we really doing to make a difference? And that's what Be Well is all about. Be Well is saying, I'm not talking about the problem no more. I'm going to give you a solution. You're going to get your 20 minutes with a mental health therapist. Even if this is the only time you ever get to talk to someone, at least you talk to a person. We're going to make sure that we're trying to get, if there's I know the Centera van, the Bond Secure van, if anybody's watching that in the Virginia area, we are waiting to contact y'all, because we want y'all to be there on the spot. We want some dentists. Like, we want to make sure that when people enter the space, we can't blame a politician. We can't blame a school. We are providing y'all with the resources that you need in real time, the best of our ability. So when I say the best of our ability, we can try to bring all these people, but we're going to have who we have, and we're going to do the best that we can, because that's obviously what we can do. But it starts with voting, and it starts with us not complaining anymore, but actually going out there and doing something different for our community.
Honestly, before it even starts with voting, it starts with research. You know, a lot of the problems specifically in the Black community is this popularity contest. You vote for who you know. But who you know is not always who's best. You know, doing the proper research and being educated on these candidates and what they really stand for, what their background really is, what their platform really is so important. Because just because someone knows everybody does not mean that they have the best interest of the people in their hearts and in their minds. Sometimes these people are just out for themselves. They know they're going to get elected. So they're going to run because they know they're going to get elected, but they have no intentions on doing the real work for the people. So yes, vote, but make an educated vote, because we lack in that. We vote popular. We vote what's mainstream. We vote what the now is and what the hip is, not thinking long term. Yeah. You know, we're in that situation right now. Like, if you just look around, it's like a lot of these people in place, a lot of these people in positions of power are popular. It wasn't because they were the most qualified. It wasn't because they had the background. It wasn't because they had the wherewithal. It's because they were popular, because they did what the people thought they wanted. They, you know, put this thing forward, and it wasn't really what it needed to be.
And also, it's the follow through after you put them in office. It's kind of everybody just go back to their corner and start complaining and waiting for the next. And I don't want to act like there's not a place to or a need for us to raise concerns. You know, it's like, are we complaining just because it's popular to complain, or are we doing it with a mindset like we need to challenge our elected officials and hold them accountable and stand on the things that they said that they would run for?
All right. Yeah, no, most definitely. But that, if we put them in place, then we have the right to speak on, whatever it is that they're doing. A big thing for us is we have to be more organized with our voice. If it's a problem, we have to collectively stand and say it's a problem, and not have people on the outskirts riding the line or going back and forth, because then that creates division, and then that nothing changes. You have a handful of people that are mad, a handful of people that are cool with it, and no one really standing for what's right and what's wrong and saying, hey, this is how we're going to move forward.
Yeah. That's good. Good point.
So we somewhat alluded to it earlier as far as these wellness events and what you're providing, how this will then take the load off of the teachers. I guess in a perfect world, what would it look like if your teachers were able to do simply that? Especially if the wellness event, people were able to get their mentors, they were able to get their life coaches, they were able to get, connected to the trade schools, all of these things, the supplies, the clothing. How would this then, in the perfect world, allow the teachers to then do what they're supposed to do?
It would give them, so in addition to, everything that we're providing, a big thing that we're doing is we're doing a big supply haul. Because throughout the school year, these teachers take out of their own pockets to supply these kids with the things that they need. The school doesn't supply them with funding. Sure, they can be tax write-offs in the following year, but teachers take from their already less than salary to provide these kids with experiences, to buy cups to do experiments, to buy sand to do experiments, to buy pizza and cupcakes to have parties. That's not funded by the school. That's funded by a teacher. And if we could do our part on our end, then the teachers didn't have to come out of their pocket. If we paid teachers what they were supposed to be paid, they wouldn't struggle in their personal life, and then they could be all in when they come to school. This for me, this is just the start. This first Be Well is just going to be the smallest Be Well. Because for me, coming from here, it's only going to grow, and we're only going to figure out how we can do even more, not just for the families, not just for the schools, for these teachers. How do we get them in a better position? How do we get them paid for the work that they do that matters? It makes no sense to me how little teachers make, when those are the people fostering our young minds. How important is that? And they're paid pennies. They got to have part-time jobs. They have to have summertime jobs. They have to have spring break jobs. Teachers don't get paid over the summer. That 10-month salary is broken up into those 2 additional months over the summer. It's not extra money. People think that teachers are just chilling at home when they're actually going back to school, paying more money out of their own pocket so that they can get a $200 increase. Or they may be able to move into administration, or they may be able to be a grade level chair. But you're shelling out thousands of dollars to get these masters and to get these PhDs to possibly do more in the work that you're trying to do. And for me, that just doesn't cut it. That's just not it. These teachers need more support. They need more help. They need more backing from the parents and from the community so that they can get the things that they need. A 10% bonus one time a year. Okay, that's cool. But what else? And if we can adopt a school, if we can adopt a classroom to ensure that these teachers don't have to come out of their pocket at all for the school year, that they have everything that they need to make an experience for these children to learn and to grow and to cultivate, then we're doing our part, right? Then we're really making the difference, because then these kids are excited to come to school. Kids right now are wondering, what is the point? And that is so sad. That's so disheartening. As a teacher at heart, as a former teacher, as a teacher at large, because that's what I like to consider myself. I am a teacher, whether I'm in the classroom or not. I inspire, I teach, I guide. And I know what it's like when you feel like you can only do but so much because you're stunted because of your resources and your funding. We have to support the schools more so that they can do more. And us as the people, us as the parents, us as the community at large, you can serve in the PTA even if you don't have a child in school. You can just be a community member and make sure that these kids have what they need. You know, you can volunteer, you can sign up, you can be there with these kids. I love the stories about these parents and these people coming together. I don't even remember what city it is, the Watchdog program, where all the dads started coming together after all those kids were fighting, and they would just be in the halls interacting with the kids. Some of those kids didn't have daddies, so that was the only example that they saw of a father figure. Like, hey, Mr. Johnson likes to crack jokes with me in the morning. Or I see Mr. Ted in the cafeteria making sure that we're all safe. And then no one wants to act up because they think they know someone cares. These teachers are here to care. They're here from their hearts. And if we can support them and if we can back them, then what they do for our kids would be out of this world. I'm done.
So to our teachers watching, we want to say to our teachers watching, we definitely want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And then to be married to a teacher who just finished his first year's, kudos to you, my love. To Lindsey, who's a worldwide teacher, and I teach a little something. But to all of you guys, we just want to say thank you, and I want to reiterate that be well. Although this is going to be the first type of event like this, this will not be the last. So if you are in the Hampton Roads area on August the 13th from 2 until 5 o'clock, we will be at the Portsmouth YMCA that is off of High Street. And we'll have a slew of different things. Of course, the biggest one is the back to school drive. So if you want to be a part of that, we are asking all of our vendors that are going to be there. And the reason why we're sharing this with you guys, because we want you to know everybody in the room is here to supply the needs of our families. Each person that's going to be a vendor is responsible for 5 book bag donations, as well as 50 donations of the same type of item. If you want to be someone to do an overhaul of supplies, because we will be hopefully adopting a whole school, that's what I'll speak. Let us know. Email us at visiondriven757@gmail.com and let us know, hey, you have a location where you're having people donate supplies, because that's the big thing. But not only are we giving supplies, y'all, we're also going to have mental health professionals, life coaches. I'm speaking, a dentist is going to ring our line. We're going to have some physicians there as well. We're going to have mentors, tutors, back to school, after school programs, and cheerleading squads. Whatever you need to be successful, that is what's going to be in the room on August the 13th. So if you are looking to be well, y'all, don't tell us that we ain't trying. We are trying. And even if you're not in the Hampton Roads area, you can still reach out to visiondriven757@gmail.com and let us know how you would like to help us make sure that we provide for our community. There is another resource I do want to talk to you guys about. I want to say it's called Nighthawk in the city of Norfolk. The police department, local churches, other entities, they're coming together. So from 9 o'clock at night to midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, they're letting the young boys actually come and play basketball in a safe environment. So if you are willing to volunteer that space, you can reach out to the church I attend, which is Calvary Revival Church, or I'll make sure I share that flyer as well on our thing. Our community understands that gun violence is an all-time high, and we're doing what we can to literally minimize that. And if our kids have something to do during the times that these violent acts are happening, that is what we're trying to do. So for those who aren't in the Hampton Roads area, we just ask y'all continue to pray for us. We'll also continue to pray for your cities and your families and all of that. And I know tonight was heavy, but at the end of the day, we are really trying to impact change on the Culture Podcast here on the Floor is Yours podcast. So Flex, we're going to go ahead to this last commercial break. And when we come back, Fierce is going to kick us out with our overhaul of what we learned and what we're taking away tonight.
Success ain't going to happen overnight. It may take a year. It may take 2 years. It may even take 10 years. For some people, it might take even longer than that. But one thing I do know, as long as you keep fighting and staying consistent, you will make it. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you going to make it?
step in that water, step in that water. Yeah. You gotta be willing to go out and get it. You gotta dive in it, go and get it. Step in that water, step in that water, step in that water. Yeah. You got
Need a haircut, McFades. I'm telling you, get you lined up, get you fresh, get you smelling right. You be having the fades, you having the Caesars, bowl cuts. Y'all remember bowl cuts from back in the day?
I have a question. So what they gonna be smelling like? Because you just said get you smelling right. So I want to know.
Okay, Flex and I'm talking about what's the aftershave stuff in the what's the thing?
Put on you, man, happy. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
Good,
Okay.
Looking good, smelling good, man. That's why we walk like this when we get hurt.
Yes.
We're feeling ourselves. It's the same,
y'all. So yes, run that back when y'all catch this restring. Check it out and get your haircuts. Excuse me, get your haircuts. So this is what we're gonna do. Most people love when things are given away. So I can even do my own makeshift drum roll on the counter on the table. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a quick drum roll and we got a giveaway. So as I do my drum roll, my man Flex is gonna shine. He's gonna broadcast a name, a special name. So we just hope you are out there watching. So here we go.
Hey,
And we got. Oh
yeah, hold on. He's putting the name up there, y'all.
Yeah. It's delayed.
Man, you kind of threw me off with that. Here we go. Boom.
We waiting. Hey, that's my girl, Anisha Ricks. You have won tonight a $50 gift to you. Make sure you reach out to me so we can make sure we get that to you on behalf of the Floor is Yours Podcast, LLC. We just want to say thank you so much for subscribing, liking, sharing, and officially being a part of our family. Make sure you let your family know, and hopefully that can go towards whatever you need. So we love you, we thank you, and we appreciate you, okay? So Anisha Ricks, you got it, girl.
So Luna.
Yes.
What you got going on?
Oh, man, what do I have going on? Y'all, probably a little too much, actually. But believe it or not, coming up this upcoming Monday. So this past Monday, I was on the Michael Collier show, which was amazing. And I was invited to come back this upcoming Monday. So if you are free, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the Michael Collier show is on Facebook, and I will be talking about the different things that I have going on. As I said, I have a lot going on, so I'm trying to get to my Facebook page here now. For Mogul TV Global, right now we have the Mogul CEOs happening, and I had an opportunity of interviewing amazing Mogul CEO females who are doing the darn thing as entrepreneurs. So make sure you catch that as well. That's going on for the rest of this month. Also coming up, y'all wait with me. I have the NASA Foundation Traumatic Brain Injury Teen and Youth Adult Survivors. We're doing a brain injury and mental health live webinar on August the 15th. I will be one of the mental health professionals that's going to be speaking on that as well. This upcoming Friday in Hampton, Virginia, I have the Re-Up Experience. I'm the one that's going to be opening up the conference to really talk about what re-upping actually look like. If you are up in the Richmond area on August the 14th on a Sunday, I will be up there for a book signing, and I'm going to be talking about the key to the waiting room. I'm going to be up there with my family. There's so many other things that I'm doing, y'all, but I'm going to stop it right there. Just know at the end of the day, my purpose in life is to lower the rate of suicidality, and right now it's increasing instead of decreasing. So if there's anything that I can do to help you guys really see that you are enough, that you are lovable, let me know. My prices on my website are the things that I am trying to manifest. If you go up there and you say, I don't know, reach out to me and we will make it work. So that's what I got going on. What about you, Furious?
So what I have going on, I actually and shout out to Flex for this opportunity. I've been given an opportunity to begin my own podcast/show. And what this is going to be doing is going to be highlighting, it's going to actually take us back down memory lane, especially if we grew up watching Fitz and Park and Teen Summit. It's going to be a music countdown, emphasizing on conscious hip hop, neo soul, and R&B. So it's not just conscious rap, but it's going to take you on a trip through all of it. It's going to be called More Than Music. So that's in the works, coming together. I'm excited for it. I've also am putting together a life coaching program, and that's going to be dope too. So, I mean, I have a few things going on, studying for my Virginia Communication and Literacy Assessment, VCLA, which is the last part for my teaching license. So I got a few different things. Music out. Check me on all streaming platforms, Furious Styles, Trey G. And also get your rolling papers and Bleach Hemp Rolling Papers, G Rolling Papers, LLC. A few different things. I love to work with you.
Okay. Right, Flex, the producer, what you got going on down there, King?
Hey, you know me, all things Floor is Yours podcast. I'm just pushing. Hey, I'm throwing all my weight and support behind Furious with this music thing, man. We're going to make sure that this thing is jumping, man. I tell him all the time, man, your music is dope. And for y'all that don't know, the intro song is him. So this dude is one of the best musicians, artists, all that I've ever, man. Is lyrically blessed, man. And I really enjoy listening to your music. So, man, I'm here for it, brother.
Awesome. You, and we haven't forgotten about you, Lindsey. What do you have coming up, Queen?
Let me see. Okay. So next Tuesday, I'll be honored as a community leader from the Oak Foundation. So they'll be having a banquet in Portsmouth. Tickets are $25. And I do believe that there are still a few seats available. So if you are able to come out, it's an awesome foundation that I've worked with several times in the past. And I just believe in their work and their initiative. So that's going to be super fun. At the end of this month, I'll be reporting with 95.7, 102.9, and 104.5 to talk some more about Be Well, Vision Driven 757, and the things that we're doing in the community. We are going to be gearing up for our next event after Be Well, so I'm super excited about that. I don't want to give too much yet, but it's going to be a very important event. I'm going to say that it's going to be super important what we talk about for our kids, and especially for our little Black boys and for our grown Black men. So I would just stay tuned for all things Vision Driven 757 on all the social medias. Please follow, like, subscribe, and all those things so that you can get updates on what we have coming up. And I might do something special for my birthday next month. I've been toying around with an idea of something that I want to drop. I'm not going to speak it yet because it's not solidified and God hasn't told me to move yet. But I got a good idea on my heart, and I think I'm going to put it out there. So y'all stay tuned for all that. You can follow me at Lindsey A of VA on the Instagram and Facebook for those updates as well.
Announce it here on the podcast. We'd love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. So just to recap, we want to make sure that Anisha Ricks know that she is the winner of our $50 gift tonight, just to say thank you for being a part of our family. And I also want to make sure that we shout out all the board members of Vision Driven 757. Of course, you know, we have Lindsey as the CEO. We have Jasmine. Listen, y'all, Jasmine is all thing everything, okay? That's all I can say about Jasmine. If you need anything done business-wise, I declare to you she's probably a part of the CIA and all that because she know a bunch of stuff. But Jasmine, we love you. And then we also have Nicole as well. We want to make sure we shout you out too, Queen. And of course, I'm on the board too. I try to stay in the background, but they won't let me. I'll be doing a bunch of stuff at the Be Well event. But yeah, so I want to make sure we shout out the board. But as we talk about that, Lindsey, tonight, the Floor is Yours podcast, on behalf of the Culture Podcast, would love to give $50 to Vision Driven 757 towards the Be Well event. So whatever that can be used for, that is what we want to gift you as well, and the organization, to just give us one step further to getting more supplies for the youth in our community. So that is a gift from us to you and Vision Driven 757. Yeah. But without further ado, y'all, we're going to go ahead and do this outro because we kept y'all for 5 minutes over, but we working on time, y'all. But go ahead and keep this outro, Flex.
Hey, real quick, I know we are over time, but something that came to my mind is the mental health of our youth. What is it going to look like in 3, 5, and 10 years? And I think that's something that we can maybe talk about on another show, because all three of y'all, you know, deeply involved in the community.
So maybe that sounds like the first culture podcast panel. That's what that sounds like, in combination with Mogul TV Global. So go ahead and tag Tamika on that, because that's definitely needed, because that's going to be way more than a 5-minute response.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so we're gonna make sure that we do that. We're manifesting that event. So if it is somebody up here that mental health is your thing, please let us know. The whole thing about the Culture podcast is we want to put as many people on as we can. And as y'all know, there's no topic we don't touch, because our community needs to talk about everything, not just one thing. We've brought on so many different people. We talked about the cannabis laws in Virginia, because people think things are legal and it's not. We had our King Daniel on last time that talked about water safety. Who talks about water safety? The Culture podcast do. We've talked about music. We've talked about sexual abuse and assault. We've talked about so many different things. So if you are someone out there that just wants your voice to be heard, listen, I will tell you, don't come with no mess, because we will not put you on. But if you are coming with something that's really going to propel our community, this is the podcast for you. And let's go ahead and hit that outro before we start a whole nother podcast tonight, y'all.
They the Roy's new podcast, who want the smoke? Coming raw and uncut like who want this dope? Whatever you want, they for sure to cover the topic. From racial issues to fashion flies a cockpit. Y'all ain't never get it like this, cause they ain't never did it like this. We on our this the way the cookie crumbles for y'all. She gon' bring the inspiration to all. You know what's up with her. And this shit manifesting is a vision. And y'all gon' love TJ cause he the realest. From the heart of a mob, they the start of it all. You looking for a holler and holler at your rug. The professor, nothing lesson, coming at you with the lessons. Get your edge if you knowin' what's good for you. They educated, but they still keep it hood for you. Won't need another, this one here really do it for you.
Baby, look at the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, got me. The floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours. Let me show you how pro the floor is yours. 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 The floor is yours.
Awesome. So again, welcome to The Floor is Yours podcast family. Lindsey, this will not be the last time. There's so many more things that we could do, and don't be surprised if people slide in your DM to actually do your own podcast, but we'll leave that alone for another day. But no, for real, y'all, again, welcome to The Floor is Yours podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. We also want to shout out our partners again at Mogul TV Global. Make sure you download the app. Check out all the different shows that's up there, because we are doing the dang thing. And make sure you also check out the replay for the male's mental health thing. Flex was up there as a panelist. We had Mars, who's on Greenwood. That was the actual facilitator for that, a moderator. And you had Dr. Knowles, who's Beyonce's dad, was up there, and so many other amazing African-American men talking about their mental health. Make sure you check that out. But until next time, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. And if you want to be up here, just let us know. And we love y'all. Peace and blessings, everybody.